Dear participants, welcome to our conference. In a few minutes, sessions will start and will.
Let me introduce myself.
Uh,
I'm Dr. Praveen. I was principal of a teacher training college, and it is called the Institute of Advanced Study in Education. It's affiliated to Calicut University in the southern state of Kerala, India. Okay. I'm a teacher educator basically, and I will also be presenting a paper today. This is my paper. This is about the sub-theme migration and education. Okay, that's the title. I hope you can read the title. Can you read the title, all of you? Hello, can you read the title?
yes.
Fine, fine, fine. Okay, let me tell you something about the background to let you know. As you know, I come from India, and I live in the state of Kerala, in the south of Kerala here. As you can see here, this is where I stay. Okay, it's a southernmost state. Huh? It's a coastal state, and this is the Arabian Sea here. Okay, and let me tell you something about the state. The National Geographic Traveler magazine identified this particular state as one of the 10 paradises on earth and a must visit site. Okay, you see the scenic beauty that we have here. That is the state of Kerala. Okay, it is the most literate state in India, which has the highest sex ratio, lowest population growth rate, highest literacy in India, highest life expectancy, and the highest human development index. That is the state in which I live, and that's the state on which the study is being conducted. If you look at the human development index, it is comparable to 12 leading countries across the world. Okay, to Switzerland, Sweden, and so on. So if you're interested, you can watch this particular link YouTube video. So this is about the country of which I'm going to speak about. So my presentation, I will tell you something about migrant laborers in the state of Kerala. Okay, the objectives of my study, the methodology which I had followed, and the findings. Okay, now, in the state of Kerala, from the 1970s, people started migrating to the Gulf. See, studies show that every fourth Indian in the Gulf is a Malayali. Malayalam is a local language. Okay, you can see in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Oman how many they migrated. You see them returning. Now, some kind of a replenishment migration happened when these people migrated to the Gulf. You see, as per the 2018 census, the population of the state of Kerala is 35 million. But migrants from other states started coming to Kerala state. Around 3 million, as per the Economic Review report, 3 million migrants are there. These are laborers from the northeastern state of India. And some of them are illegal migrants from the neighboring country, Bangladesh. Okay, this is the scene you see in the morning. They all come to a junction. These are migrant laborers. They are hired for local work, construction sites and so on, and they go to work. They are paid daily wages. Okay, so the study is about these migrant laborers. And you know what happened during the COVID-19? All these migrant laborers wanted to return home. Imagine 3 million migrant laborers trying to take the train and go back to the native place. You see how crowded it is. Well, there were not sufficient trains during the COVID season, and it was a big mess. So this is the background in which the study is done. Okay, so what are the objectives? To find out the nature of the welfare measures for migrant laborers in Kerala before the COVID season. Okay, and the nature of the provisions made for the education of the children of the migrant laborers. And finally, the impact COVID pandemic brought on the migrant laborers. That is the objective of my study. And the population, as I said, was the migrant laborers in Kerala. The sample is basically the children of the migrant laborers admitted to schools in Kerala state. Okay, so this paper, as I said, is the education of children. It is related to education. That is why the sample is the migrant laborers' children. Now, I have to mention something about the migrant laborers because it is their children that I am studying. And the traditional empirical analysis of reports, government reports, newspaper reports, studies done and published in journals, and certain informal interviews with the school authorities, where these students were studying. That is how I collected the data. Okay. Now, if you look at before the COVID season, I'm just mentioning only a few. There were free health insurance given to the migrants, the registered migrant laborers, 15,000 rupees free health insurance by the government of Kerala. Then, in addition to that, mobile crushes were set up to take care of the kids of the migrant workers. Then, there was regular literacy classes held for, most of them were not educated. They were first generation learners, some of these laborers. So literacy classes were held for them, you know. And in addition to that, you will also see, to see that, they are not exploited. The government of Kerala, the labor department used to conduct occasional inspections in the sites where these people are working to take care of their living conditions. Okay. And these, incidentally, you must also know that these migrant laborers are known as Bengalis in Kerala. These Bengalis are also called bhai. Bhai, when translated, means brother. That means the employers always call them bhai. That means brother. You see, now when such a policy is there, such friendly attitude towards that, and very significantly, the sons of the soil policy was not very evident in Kerala. So, it was a very welcome atmosphere for these Bengalis, and they were all able to earn much better than what they used to learn and earn in their own state. So, they were all quite welcome. And if you look at all these policies that the government of Kerala, the government of India all introduced, it has one thing in common. It was all based on one traditional Indian value, that is Loga Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which means that whole people in the world be happy. Now, whenever any government decides any policy, the first priority is their own citizens. But what the government of Kerala did was, when these migrant laborers came, they took care of their basic needs, their social needs, their psychological needs. So that is why this is a policy that is commendable. Okay. Now, what happened when the COVID stuck, special shelters were set up. There were community kitchens set up. Free rice and flour was distributed. The because of the COVID shutdown, milk collected from milk producers couldn't be distributed because of the COVID. So what did the government do? This was given to the children of migrant laborers and even pregnant mothers, of migrant laborers. So nothing was wasted. Even they were taken care of. And this particular girl, you see, she had come all the way from the northeast and looked for a job. What was her advantage? She could speak 6 languages. So immediately she was hired and put in the COVID control room to help the migrants, laborers who badly wanted to return home because of the COVID. You see, this were the welfare measures taken by the government. Okay, now let us look at the measures taken pre-COVID for the children of migrant laborers. These children speak several languages, Oriya, Marathi, Oriya, and other languages. But the teachers in Kerala state, they have to study Hindi, which is a national language and is closely related to some of these languages. So Hindi was used. And these children who were migrant laborers who were admitted, they were given bridge courses in the first standard. And what is unique about studying in the government schools is that they're given free breakfast and meals. Okay, and in addition, every week nutritious food like milk and egg was given to these children. And there were local NGOs who were supplying free book and uniform to the children. Okay, and what was basically happening here is that the teachers were trying to address the social and psychological problems of these children. And what it was also reported that some of these children were able to speak the language like the locals. And they used to excel in a subject like maths. Maths is supposed to be a difficult subject, and they used to give attention to it. And multiple languages were used to teach them. You see, so all these were helping migrant laborers, children of migrant laborers. Now, this is how the newspapers reported. The Hindustan Times, you see, Kerala government schools become a boon for migrants. You can see the children of migrants here. See how decently dressed they are. See the smiles on their faces. This is another school, how a district helped migrant children stay in school. These children, when the parents move from one locality to another, they will be forced to leave. But these children were allowed to stay here in the school and they were taken care of. You see, These are newspaper and website reports. I'm giving you proof of what the study is done. And but suddenly when the COVID struck, there's the Times of India had one picture like this, and this is what, where do the kids stay of migrant workers are? That is what they asked. And these migrant laborers were worried about the education of their own children. No, so what happened during COVID? These children, when they returned, they were given special cards to help them continue their education. And even though the fees they were allowed to pay in installment, because some of the laborers lost their jobs, so they were allowed to pay fees in installments. And even recorded versions of online classes were given to these children so they could continue their education. That is why this was a commendable effort on the part of the government of Kerala. So what happened when the COVID struck? Food was a problem. But what did the government of Kerala do? They provided free food kits to all the migrant workers. This is again a newspaper report from the News Minute. You see what kind of the pulses, rice, soap, all these essential daily items were supplied free of charge. And another thing was, when there was no transport for all of them to return. Temporary shelters were set up. They were given TV sets for watching. They were given carom boards to play. And most significantly, National Health Mission project called the Aditi Deva Bhava. That is a national government policy. This is in Hindi. It means your guest is your God. And these migrant laborers are guest laborers. They should be treated like gods. So they had special programs to take care of to prevent the spread of COVID pandemic. So health workers went to the localities where they were living and took care of their basic needs. So what are the implications of the study? In times of crisis, basic amenities has to be given. You have to connect the migrants with bilingual social workers. Only then they can help each other. And then you need to take care of the academic, social, and well-being of the children of migrants. That's absolutely essential. That's the implication of my study. And what are the limitations and scope? I must admit that most of these data are from secondary sources. The problems of individual laborers in specific industries are studied. And data only of students admitted to local schools have been studied. So there's one big problem. So what can be done as future studies? Studies on best practices these can be highlighted. Best practice to deal with education of children of migrant laborers, and these then could be disseminated. Okay, finally, this is my conclusion. These two Indian values based on which all those policy measures, all these welfare measures were taken, this is worthy of emulation by all the other countries. Okay, this is my conclusion. Okay, so they have to be treated as a god. Let the entire world be happy. So all these I must say was commendable effort and based on Indian values. That is why you see the Indian tricolor flying. Okay, these are select references. Okay, and thank you. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Yes. Now your turn to ask me questions. Okay, feel free.
Doctor, are the welfare measures taken by the local government or the central government?
It was taken by the state government, Kerala state government. National government has policy, but Kerala was, the leaders were able to think beyond their own personal needs. Normally, only they take care of the citizens, but it's a vision of them, this empathy they showed for people who have come to our state, and that is admirable. That is why I'm presenting this.
Thank you, sir. And are there any places like Kerala in India or
you mean in terms of education?
Other places like Kerala, or is it the only place?
There are several states where migrant workers are working, but the work done in Kerala received media attention in India. That is why I'm presenting it. It is unique in the way. Normally, in any competitive society, they first take care of their citizens. Only then comes the issue of migrants. You go anywhere, issues. Even I think you're going to speak about Syrian issues. But it is the local governments take care of their citizens first. Migrants are secondary. But here, the policy is, even they are your guests, you have to take care of them. So that approach, I think is just as Coimbi mentioned how the solution, how to address the issues of the American dream. Similarly, for migrant laborers and for all of us to remain happy, this particular policy is going to be helpful. That is why I made this presentation.
Thank you.
The presentation was clear enough.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.